And again, keep in mind that our faith in Christianity is not based on the Bible, but rather on the resurrection. And since belief in the resurrection existed before the books of the New Testament were written, trying to poke holes in the Bible does not actually disprove Christianity as skeptics would like it to. Alright, so this is a reply by a Christian, which is Sylvia Arenti. Of course, the earlier part is basically related to my her comments and with regard to my remarks in the video. Right, so I was watching the video about the supposed contradiction in the Bible. I make some remarks and she make this remark at the end. Keep in mind that the faith of Christianity is not really based on the Bible, but rather it is based on the resurrection. And he said that the resurrection, the belief in resurrection is before or predates the New Testament. Hence, if you poke holes to the New Testament, if you criticize or even if the New Testament falter, basically, the faith is not affected because it predates or it is prior to New Testament anyways, which is new to me personally, hence the thread afterwards, right? So I would say, oh, interesting. So to which my comment, thank you for the comment on the last part, which is the highlighted part. Given that your faith is not based on the Bible, even if all these supposed contradictions are actually real contradictions, because not resolved, because the video is made by a Christian to resolve the supposed contradiction in the Bible. So my question here is, even if all the contradiction is not resolved, meaning that it's clear-cut contradiction and that is the fact, it wouldn't really matter towards the faith, right? So I just want to get this understanding. Really? Do you mean that even if all the contradiction in the Bible is conclusively real contradiction, meaning there's a problem within the Bible, it will not really affect the faith of Christianity? Is that correct? And he said, correct. Even if all the alleged errors were proven to be true, of course, because that's still the question, right? But meaning basically, even if all of these are true, the foundation of the Christian faith will still be solid, right? So that's interesting. But it triggers some other question, because from my previous experience, I do not really find this to be the case from the Christian perspective. That's the way I perceive it, at least. So so thank you for the confirmation. That's my comment, right? Given that, then this discussion about the supposed contradiction is more of an academic discourse, right? Basically, to academically address supposed contradiction on the book that some people accuse upon it, right? So because I'm going through the video about supposed contradiction of the Bible. So given that he is saying that, okay, despite even if it's truly contradiction, no problem to our faith. So meaning that all of this discussion for the Christian to show that it's not really a contradiction is just academic, right? At the same time, is it true that all Christians that at the same time, is it true for all Christians that the faith is not reliant upon the Bible? Question mark. Because that's my honest question. Because it seems from many because it seems from many Christians on the street, or even some preachers or Christian that makes videos, they seem indicate, some at least, that the belief is based on or upon the Bible. Hence, when some Muslim, atheists, etc. manage to critique the Bible, their faith is directly affected. Right? So that's the perception that I have based on many videos, many comments, etc. So I said, is this really true that even if the Bible falls, the faith is not affected? Because that's not really the vibe that I get from many things that I've watched and interaction that I have had. And he replied, you could put it that way, yes. Keep in mind though that just because the Bible is not the foundation of the religion, it does not mean it is unimportant. The Bible still matters, just not as much as people think. Okay, this is the main difference between traditional Christians, in bracket Catholics, Eastern Orthodox, Oriental Orthodox, Church of the East, and Protestants. Protestants hold to the doctrine of sola scriptura, which says that the Bible is only infallible source of authority, while traditional Christians believe that both sacred scripture and sacred tradition, both being passed down from Jesus to the 12 apostles, have authority. Alright, so now I get, okay, so this would mean that actually it's what I'm observing, which I will later touch on, is my perception is mostly based on my interaction with Protestants, right? So that's why the Protestant believe that the Bible is the only source, while the rest mentioned here is there's another thing, which is the sacred tradition here, right? So to give an Islamic equivalent, which is helpful for me and perhaps any Muslim watching this, right? Quranists believe that the Quran is the only infallible source of authority, while traditional Muslim, Sunni, Shia, Ibadis, I'm not sure what is Ibadis, believe both the Quran and Sunnah have authority. Of course, since the Quran is viewed differently by Muslims than how most Christians see the Bible, the comparison is not completely accurate. Alright, but I think the point to Muslim, right? The point that he want to highlight is the fact that there are some so-called Muslim that reject the Hadith. So this is like the equivalent that he tried to make, that there are some Christians that reject the sacred tradition. That is basically the equivalency that he tried to highlight. So since the Protestants since for the Protestants the Bible is the only authority, they will often treat it as the only source of truth and thus place their faith on it. All of this is erroneous from the traditional Christian point of view. Since the video you usually watch about Christianity are in English, most of them will be made by Protestants, as the English-speaking world is majority Protestant, as opposed Southern Europe and Latin America, which are majority Catholics, or Eastern Europe, which is majority Eastern Orthodox. So this, to be honest, this is new to me in terms of the perspective. Not I totally ignorant about the fact that, you know, most English Protestant, etc. But the difference between the perspective on what the Bible is and its authority, and is there any other authoritative text, right? So to be honest, this is new to me, interesting, because all the three dakwah that I've watched so far is from the English-speaking world, basically, right? Hence, when the Bible is being brought up, etc., it's easy to see that, you know, just from that discussion, people can leave Christianity behind, and we have watched that a lot, right? So because when the Bible is no longer valid, then what is the basis of your faith? But he's pointing out that for those non-English speaking people that are Christian, their faith, the source of their faith is different, meaning that the Bible, even if the Bible falls, it doesn't affect, right? So that is interesting to me, new perspective, new understanding. Thank you for the input. Yes, the Christian that I see are mainly English speaking, hence my view of Christianity and hence Christianity, is skewed towards the specific demography. On the equivalent that you give, what would be equivalent to the Sunnah that I might know of? Also, my follow-up question is, okay, have I heard any of this so-called the equivalent of Sunnah, meaning the sacred tradition? Because the sacred text is the Bible. I'm quite familiar of what it is. I have watched people discussing it, but what is the other one, right? I've heard of it because I'm not really familiar. So, and to that he replied, Basically, sacred tradition is all of the teaching of Jesus and the 12 apostles that were not directly and explicitly recorded in the Bible. For traditional Christians, sacred tradition precedes and includes the Bible, which is why it cannot be read separately from it. A future video will explain this in more detail. Yeah, so hopefully when I reach that video, it becomes more clear to me. If a teaching is agreed upon by all traditional Christians but rejected by all or most Protestants, you can be almost that certain it comes from sacred tradition. Alright, so that's basically the thread. Interesting to me. Yeah. Because the way normally I react to many of the Christians that comment on my page is always based on the assumption, just like Muslim hold the Quran, I assume basically there's similarity there. And because for Muslim, if Quran can be proven that is written by Muhammad SAW, for example, or written by any human being, then the whole faith falls, because it is believed to be revelation, and hence everything inside the Quran is believed to be from God. That's the fundamental of it, right? So if that can be proven to be false, then the whole thing falls, right? So from here, similar would be the case for Protestant, because they hold on to the Bible similarly. Hence, when the Bible falls, the faith falls, while the rest of Christianity is different. That's what I take from this. If you are a Protestant, feel free to comment whether how do you see this, and if you are non-Protestant Christian, meaning you are from different, because Sylvia Arenti here is from Catholic that I know of, but if you are from, I don't know, Orthodox, etc., feel free to share how your perspective on this. Thank you for watching. See you next time.